Hello, and welcome to yet another completely unprofessional interview, the only tabletop RPG interview show that soon will be your only option for watching, thanks in part to my high capacity for sin and the coming rapture today. With us, we have a very special guest, a gentleman whose skill and craft spans many different mediums. You'll know him from various works in regards to Arc Dream, Delta Green, and the coming Black Company, but more importantly from that wonderful picture in the back of Walker and the Wastes, which will probably be the thumbnail for this. We'll see. Everyone, I would like to introduce Dennis Detweiler. Thank you so much for forsaking your eternal salvation to be with us today.
Well, I have a camera on my doorbell, so if Jesus shows up, I'm good.
Excellent. I mean, and if you get lifted or disappear all of a sudden, we'll edit it out. I'll give you the Matt Colville treatment as I did at CamCon. We'll see how that goes.
Okay.
So. Well, again, thank you so much for taking your time to speak with me today. We are going to cover a few things. We're going to talk about Dennis's introduction to RPGs. We're going to talk about some parts of his career as he moved into his current destination with Arc Dream. A few things about Delta Green, but then we will jump into the Black Company that will be coming out when it's done.
Yes.
See, I listen, but more importantly, hopefully coming soon. The playtest materials, which I know everybody is salivating over.
Cool.
But before we get in, I ask this of everyone who comes on and has a little chat with me. I'm interested in it. I always think it's a wonderful story, and a lot of people like to hear these things, even though you may have said it a million times already. Your introduction to gaming. Your introduction to whether it be RPGs, board games, or whatever kind of started you on your path.
Okay, yeah. So it was RPGs. It was New York in the 1980s, so 84, 85, something like that. Redbox D&D was the original delivery method. But I was very lucky in that my childhood game store was the Complete Strategist, which is just if I can't describe it. It's like Ollivanders for RPGs. There's like shelf after shelf of ancient stuff still. Like I think the last time I went there, I bought an original Gamma World box set for the price that was listed on the sealed Gamma World box set from 1985 or something like that. So yeah, that's where I discovered it. Redbox D&D, had a bunch of friends, said, let's play this. We all started playing that. It became a Saturday thing. Then that spread very quickly into, Gangbusters and Dawn Patrol and Marvel Superheroes, and
Yeah, as it has for so many of us. It quick question: in your opinion, I've had this discussion a few times, but generally speaking, my introduction was the wonderful Endless Quest books, and I say, damn it, that counts. Before I was lucky enough to have my friend's father bring out his Moldvay Cook box set, and we spent many hours looking over Castle Amber, having no fucking clue what we were doing, but still had a good time. So yes, like many of us, the role playing games tend to lead to various aspects of creativity. And, yours, as I had mentioned earlier, spans several different mediums. But as far as with you, the creative aspect, as far as, your influence within the RPG realm, which one of these came first? Was it the artistic aspect, your writings, or both?
So I could always draw since I was little. And I always wanted to be a Marvel Comics artist. And I successfully worked for them for several years as a kind of a cleanup inker kind of guy as a kid. So art was definitely my focus. I went to school for art. I went to college for art. Writing, this is going to upset a lot of people. Writing is fun and easy. Drawing or painting is like taking one of those metal tined things used to clean plates and inserting it in your mouth, pulling it out your nose. So whenever I get stuck on art, I go and write, and writing is always, wee, this is great. And painting is always, my God, why did I choose to paint chainmail? So.
Yeah. Well, that's going to go over well. Because
sure.
Everyone loves someone who says, you know what, I don't know, I just do it and it's good.
I won't say it's good. I say I'll do it. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it just seems to kind of work out. So.
Right. Well, that's excellent. So you're, I may be mistaken, but was some of your beginning artistic endeavors, were they with artwork from Magic the Gathering, or were there things before that?
So like I said, in high school, I really got on the nerves of my teachers. I used to draw Spider-Man comics on the table. I ended up meeting someone at Marvel who is a really significant name now. His dad ran a group called Ramita's Raiders. You can guess who the significant fellow is. And Ramita's Raiders were a bunch of annoying children between 16 and 18 who wanted to work at Marvel back before that was a joke. Because there's no money to work at Marvel. And you would slave and do all this awful stuff. We'd go after school. I went to Parsons School of Design at night sometimes and hung out with a guy named Bob Budiansky who helped create the Transformers comics and G.I. Joe and worshipped him. And he was basically like, what the fuck are you doing, kid? Get out of here. Run. Like, comics are a dead end. So I fell in the early 90s with the Wizards of the Coast guys. I hired their art director, Jesper Mirfors, to illustrate a bunch of books for Pagan Publishing. What the hell was it called? Devil's Children.
Yes.
He did a bunch of illustrations for that, and then he hired me to do this stupid card game he was working on, which you might have heard of. It's in like 27 languages and sells $1 billion a year or something like that.
If it's not related to poker, I have no idea what you're talking about. So
nobody knows what it is.
Oh well, hopefully they're doing well.
I wish them well. I do.
So that's excellent. So the as you know, looking into certain things regarding your background, the one that stands out the most, of course, is Pagan Publishing. But before I ask you a question about that, was there anything prior to that was kind of like a foot or a toe in the water before
for role playing?
For role playing games, yes. Sorry.
No, I don't think so. I literally found a copy of Unspeakable Oath #3 in New Jersey. I was visiting my girlfriend in Rutgers and walked into this gaming store off the quad, and there was this horrific cover of 3 cultists with upside down onks holding a kukri knife with blood all over it that looked like Uncle Fester. And I was like, that is awesome. So I bought it and it was just incredible. So I just wrote John Tynes saying, hey, I do art professionally now in New York. Do you need anything? And he was like, oh my God, yes. And sent me like 1 billion assignments. So It was great.
Excellent. So flying back from Canada, I am not the best flyer there is. I'm not white knuckling, but I'm never fully comfortable. But one of my go-to soothing listens is the Designer and Dragons books. The narrator for that, forgive me, I forget his name. It will, like you, names are just
Is it the author?
No, not Shannon Appelkline. No, it's a professional narrator, but his voice is soothing, the way he reads it. So of course, one of the things that I was listening to was the stories of Pagan Publishing and Arc Dream and things such as that. Just
That's weird.
Yeah, I know it is. I can imagine, but it's still in the beginning, with the aspect of Pagan Publishing, that would soon roll into what would become Delta Green, which previewed in Unspeakable Oath, number 5?
Seven.
Seven. Thank you. That would eventually roll into its own role-playing game itself, but using the Call of Cthulhu rule set. I believe I'm not too clear on the edition of the time. Yeah?
It was a supplement for Call of Cthulhu initially.
Right.
Then it kind of became its own RPG in 2015. So.
Right. Excellent. Yeah. So rolling into that, obviously you've been shaping, these well-loved and horror RPGs and other aspects, but primarily that within the realms of horror and whatnot. Your approach to game design and storytelling, that may have evolved from Delta Green's early days now. Has your approach changed from that period to now? Is there a different method, different way that you handle it as opposed to back then?
I'm less self-conscious about it, I guess. Mm-hmm. I used to be deeply concerned with what people would think, and now I don't really give a fuck. And that sounds really terrible, but it's what's led to the best work, in my opinion, of my career. Impossible Landscapes came out of nowhere. It's in our fourth or fifth printing. It's the most successful Delta Green book ever. Mm-hmm. And the reason it's like that is because John and others that helped kind of push me in that direction all just kind of went, go for it. Don't pay attention to anything. Don't listen to anybody. And that was a beautiful thing. And it's a rare thing in so much as I understand how hard it is to achieve that level of clarity. And it really involved me disconnecting from the outside world very extremely.
Yeah, I would agree with you totally. It's certain people are lucky that they may discover that early in life. Yeah. But one of the benefits of getting older is hopefully you do eventually come to that conclusion, and it's something that I feel hopefully people can transcend and discover for themselves, but also in regards to things, if you have children, trying to get them to, not give a shit. Not give a shit about the right things.
I mean, that's the key right there. I mean, the really crappy part was, I was like that as a youngster. I didn't give a crap. I'm going to draw Marvel Comics. I'm going to do whatever I want. And, would have horrible time in school. Teachers would torture me. Parents hated me. I was the kid you didn't want your son to be friends with because I was always like, why would we do that? That's stupid. That being the SATs or, that kind of stuff. Right. So I had it early. I gave it up for a large corporate run, which was a huge mistake. And I look back on that with deep regret. And then I won it back somehow near the end after I left it. So I look at that as that's my victory right there, as I went over the top and didn't get mowed down, and I'm on the far side of no man's land now, and everything's kind of working. So,
yeah, I mean, definitely good advice, and definitely words to live by, because it's especially in this day and age, we won't segue too much, but so. Question, as far as the aspects of mechanics and the narrative parts of the works that you do in, is there a blending between the two when you do your work, or do you primarily focus on the narrative, and are there other people within Arc Dream that kind of slides in and works with you as far as the mechanics are concerned?
No, I mean, and this is another thing that's going to upset a lot of people, is that Shane and me, Shane Ivey, John Tynes, me, Scott Clancy, the core creators of Delta Green, Caleb, we work in isolated silos. We literally I'm going to write a book about the King in Yellow that's a campaign. And they all go, see you in 2 years. And then I hand it over the fence. And, the feedback is very, this feels like this to me, but I'm not 100% sure. Maybe change this. And then sometimes Shane will go like, we should add a mechanic here, or we should alter the mechanics to do this.
Right.
But all in all, when Shane works on, one of his scenarios, I see the scenario, I read it, I run it, and that's it. And, I'll go like, you misspelled favor on this page, and it's literally like that with Shane and John, and, John Tynes hands in manuscripts and we're just like, cool, let's just send it to press. Like, it's great.
Right.
And that's just how it operates. And I think to a large degree, so many of the books you see in RPGs fall flat. Those that do fall flat because it's 400 people trying to do an organized dance. Yeah. And editing that is a nightmare. There's 22 main authors and 7 game designers and 22 artists. That's horrible. Like that, you're going to end up with just a mess of a book. By default, like if the editor's a god, they can save it. But that is such heavy lifting and is really deeply unnecessary most of the time. Like the guy, anybody writing a RPG lore book can do the mechanics. It's right. It's stupidly simple. Like you have the rules, you have a rule book. Just, you know what I mean? So it seems strange. There's an urge in RPGs, especially now, and I come from video game corporate. Like, right. There's an urge to like, here's our marketing manager, and here's our lead layout designer, and here's our assistant layout. Dude, you're making a fucking RPG. One person can make that RPG, and one person should make that RPG. Right. Because what happens at the end of the day, all I hear from those people is, we don't make any money at it. And there's a reason. You have a team of 63 people working on your RPG about fairy socks or whatever. Like, if it was one person, there might be some money. Right. And it drives me nuts. And I constantly meet people trying to spin their RPG company up into like a tech company or like, and it's just like, dude, keep it small. Keep the number of people between you and your public as close to 0 as possible, and you'll be much happier.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. You definitely see that in some of these larger companies where you're reading the RPG or you're reading the adventure, whatever it is, and the multiple voice ends up drowning out the entirety of what they're trying to project, and it ends up being no voice whatsoever. And it can be frustrating, but that's why some of the more successful people out there, as far as being known. When I say success, I don't mean financially. I just mean they're well-loved games. Come from either minimal or singular voices, and I mean, like, just to call out some, like, the One Ring is a fantastic team effort that comes together and works. Right. Like I love everything from the One Ring. It's got this great tone. The artwork is fantastic. The mechanics work. It just hits it. Yeah, there you go. You got it, Matt. And there are a ton of little games that do that, like Into the Odd, and they just nail it right out of the gate. Like, bam, it just works. And it's quite possible to do that. It just makes it so much harder. Right. So do you feel that the influence that kind of that is the video game industry, which used to be a shroud, shadows. People really didn't know unless you were deep in the industry. But with video game media, journalists, the doors opening, people interacting online. I assume you feel that is what's kind of tainting the aspect, because Yeah. I mean, so just for everybody at home, if you don't know, I spent 15 years in the video game industry, from junior designer to vice president. In the end, I ran Warner Brothers Games as the creative lead, and did all manner of horrible projects. But I managed to launch my own AAA title with Activision called Prototype, which did very well, and a bunch of little games which did well, scaling from
10 people working on a title for a year to, a couple hundred people working on a title for 5 years.
Right.
And yeah, it's a poisonous industry. It's not anything you want to be involved in. It is, you might take this as bitterness. I was never laid off. I was never fired. I had to lay off hundreds of people. I had to fire hundreds of people.
Right.
And it's a horrible, horrible, soulless business that has nothing to do with the games. Are an embarrassing side effect of the video game industry. And I can't state it any more clearly than that. And that kind of corporate thought will get you precisely nowhere in RPGs.
Right.
The predatory, I need to absorb this IP to sell it, the product to other people. I don't care what it is. Hit the button until it stops providing little pellets will fucking fail every time. So just go make a great RPG, and you can do it yourself at home. Even if you don't have a computer, just write it down. You can figure it out later.
And don't worry about, if you're monetizing your logo. That's what Redbubble's for.
Yes.
Or if someone really loves you, they will take your logo and sell it without your knowledge. But hey, it's less for you to worry about.
yeah. They'll take it off your hands.
Horror, conspiracy, human fragility, a lot of these aspects, permeate through not only Delta Green, but, other things that Arc Dream has published. These specific themes, you and everyone involved return to these, time and time again. Something about this what is it about this that continues? And mind you, the state of the world is already an answer. But that aside, but to explore these aspects, as far as these particular themes, and not write a light fluffy story about Equestria and ponies cavorting through the fields.
I don't dislike. So I'm a weird guy. I like lots of things. Sure. Wander Home was a wonderful little game, and I really enjoy it. So I can appreciate that kind of thinking. The thing that Delta Green and Godlike and Black Company and all these titles that we work on go against is the relentless, ever-rewarding power fantasy feel of standard D&D. The standard trope is, I'm going to get some more stuff, and I'm going to be more powerful than last time. Ha ha ha! And then they wonder. They're like, I've been playing 5e, and when we got to 6th level, everything was boring as shit. No one wants to play anymore. Right. And the answer is, you have 135 hit points and like a sword of Vorpal sword, and so we build against that because it's the easiest way to stand out in the market, and it is a core lust of the gamer, although they don't know it. They want to feel risk. They want to feel the import of their actions in relation to the possibility of being destroyed in the game. They desperately want that. And they don't think they do. And in fact, I will hear people from 5e going like, so I just die? And you're like, yeah. and then they, they'll run the game and they'll go, holy shit, everybody's talking about the game. They all died, and 2 went insane before they died, and they were just laughing, and they want to play again. And I'm like, that's it means something to them when they succeed in the game.
Yes, against odds that you were never meant to.
Right.
And sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. And the power fantasy aspect of D&D and games like that. I totally agree with you on your perception of it. I'm not against it either. There's a time and place for that.
Fine.
Yeah, but I do tend to feel. And this is just exploring myself, friends, my own son and his friends. A lot of the natural progression. They started with 5th edition. They're now 18 and 19. But as far as their exploration in the games, it seems like one of the, at least with the 5e generation, a lot of the progression when they hopefully branch out, a lot of that tends to go to horror first, as opposed to sci-fi or some of the other genres. And
right, It's easy to understand. I mean, the core problem, and again, I love sci-fi. Traveller is like my all-time favorite system. And Mark Miller's a god who has saved our butts more times than once for other reasons. But sci-fi is the core conceit of any RPG is what do you do in it? In Delta Green, you are in an illegal conspiracy pretending to be the federal government, trying to cover up the unnatural, which kills and drives people insane. And it will destroy you. That's it. That's the pitch. When you say sci-fi, you're going to be there for 3 hours. Well, faster than light technology in our game does this, and then, well, there's the human Imperium, and then there's the Aslan, and, like, it can literally be anything, any when, anytime, any range, any scope.
Sure.
And a lot of game masters make the fatal error, and a lot of writers make the fatal error of, like, what do you do in the game? Anything! That's not an answer. That's terrible.
Yeah.
And what you want is the core pitch. You want, what am I doing in this game? And sci-fi has a really hard time answering that concisely. So it's a difficult one to jump to immediately.
Yeah.
Unless you have a really good GM who is like, nails it straight out of the gate. And I've had that GM. And it's incredible when, you're playing, we're playing repeaters. Every time you die, you come back in another body and you have to solve the crimes that, are committed against you. And you're, done. I'm in. Put me in there. So horror is relatable. It's grounded. It's your world plus. It's generally not sci-fi plus, although it is sometimes. But that, I will add, the reason Alien and some of these other games do well is, did you see Alien? Well, that's what this is. Then we're going to play Alien. You have a nice, huge library of reference to kind of get you up to speed on what you're going to be doing in that game.
Right.
Without that, it would just be like an hour of pitching. Like, well, you're all under contract from the company, and you're flying to Arcturus, and you're going to collect chlorine gas, and So I mean, horror makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. No, it definitely does. The transition. I mean, there's ways around it, but as far as like Warhammer 40K, that's a different beast. But which surprising enough, one of the things that they wanted to try was Rogue Trader, not the role playing game, and I was a little bit shy of doing that, but they're at that wonderful stage right now where they want nothing but crunch, 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 crunch. And I say, go out and have fun with it.
Oh, yeah.
But let's see here. Okay. So fan engagement with Delta Green.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure, we conversing at CamCon and having hear many different stories. So how is it that you and maybe I don't want to say you should speak or others, but maybe just general water cooler talk type answer. But how do you feel about the way that fans and likewise, non-fans, some people who may, engage you even though they don't like it, that they engage with Delta Green, actual plays, memes, the community theory crafting, all of these things that have evolved over time, and still exist to a certain degree, in regards to, the fandom that loves the game, but also, there's also people who don't love it that seem to do it an inordinate amount of time talking about it.
Again, this is going to sound crappy. I try not to get too bent on any of that stuff. I mean, a lot of people, I will say a lot of sad people, their art is trying to make other people upset online. That's all they can release their horrible pent up frustrations of their world in. And they, the most common one I see is they'll jump onto the Delta Green Reddit and go like, I hate Delta Green. Why do you guys like it? And then, and the the really cool part is I don't have to say anything.
Yeah.
Because about 3,000 people just dogpile them into oblivion and they get downvoted 500. And,
Yeah.
So, I mean, overall, our fans are just fantastic people.
Mm-hmm.
They're very literate. They're very serious.
Right.
They buy whatever they can get their hands on. And they're generally very respectful of the work. And they will not deny a lot of work went into a product, even if they hate it,
Yeah.
which is a great thing, because sometimes we just make shit for ourselves, or we make shit that's just not good.
Mm-hmm.
And, we try our best to make everything we can the best we fucking can.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not a common attitude in the manufacture of art, I will say.
Sure.
It's mostly, let's just survive this product to get to the fun product. I would say that's the most common in all, like, productive art for money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like this novel I'm writing, but I have to, and then I get to write my ghost novel, and that's going to be awesome. So, we try not to do that. We only make shit we would make ourselves for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And the other readers I care about are Shane and Scott and John more than the public. But when they do come back, sometimes we get great feedback. Sometimes we, on the Patreon, on our Ghost account, we get fantastic playtest feedback. We get fantastic notes. Sometimes people turn up and become resources for our entire line. We have a Marine Major who just turned up and is like, here are the comments on your combat rules. And, how do you know this? Well, this happened to me in Fallujah, or this. Yeah. And you're like, oh, shit, okay, well, we need to listen to this guy. Yeah. So
it's interesting because that actually, to a lesser degree occurred, at the Game Shamus running at CamCon. A gentleman was there, and, we will get into the details of Black Company soon, but he was lucky enough to play the magic user. So we were all handed one sheet, and he was handed like 6. And So there was a particular aspect that he did regarding the magic system, and Shane just went, "Wow, I never thought about that," and he wrote it down on the playtest, and that may be play part in something eventually.
It's so easy to do that. Like, I don't know why people get their hackles up. If someone said this is factually wrong or this doesn't run correctly, I don't go, "Oh my God, you dick! What do you know?" I go like, "Thanks, like, cool." It's really easy. It's really so easy.
Yeah, I don't I mean, don't. It's a lot of these things are taken are made to be way too precious. I mean, I understand. You're putting a part of yourself in your creation. Everybody does. You're writing artists and everyone.
Yeah.
But you still have to realize that it's the reason why you play test it is because there may be issues with it. It's not perfect, nor is it ever. Of course. Relatively gonna be, but when someone gives you some criticism, and mind you, sure, people may not provide you that criticism in the manner that you prefer, but don't discount it because it's one of those things. You're entirely out of line, but you're right. That type of approach.
Well, whenever I get I start to feel riled about anything, I try and ground myself with the following thought. I professionally help people hallucinate using platonic solids. That is my job. Okay. Really? And I mean, 100%. That's exactly what I do. Nothing else. Mm-hmm. And when I think about it that way, I can't help but giggle at it. And I can't help but giggle at the flame wars and people online screaming at each other about 4th edition D&D versus 5e. And I'm just like, dude, you're talking about an imaginary fantasy game where you roll dice to see if your elf can like hit an owl bear. Like, get the fuck over yourself. It's not a big deal. And nothing we're doing has a lot of import beyond the brief glint of joy it might bring at the table.
Right.
So that's what it's all about, in the end. And I try and keep that in mind whenever someone's like, hey, dickhead. Like, I've had emails open that way with complete misunderstanding about what's going on in the Delta Green book because they never read it.
Sure.
Screaming about how we promote the American federal government or like we're pro Trump or, we've had versions of all of these things
Really?
where I'm just
Wow.
like, what have you read? Like, you've been strange places, mister. Have you been to another reality or something? Because back to 1992, Delta Green was always the federal government sucks giant ass
Yeah.
and is terrible and will kill you. And they act like that's a new thing, or like we stopped saying that, and if anything, we tripled down on it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's bizarre to get feedback like that, and I try and keep one foot out of that world where I'm sane and grounded, and just kind of go, you know what, this guy's a dipshit. There's nothing really I can do, and sorry.
Moving on, yeah. So a lot of the things that go into the creation of the games, are inspirations that come from modern day news articles, experiences, things that happen around the world, and they reflect themselves in a variety of the books, whether it be current or even in the past, with things like the conspiracy and whatnot. But has there ever been an instance where, you're an artist, and I would imagine that, several people, you don't necessarily just draw for monetary gain. You may, draw for pleasure, to relax, or just for yourself. Has there ever been an instance where, you're just drawing something and all of a sudden that becomes the inspiration for a particular scenario?
Oh, yeah. All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. I'm trying to scare myself when I draw.
Yeah.
I want to upset myself. I want to be like really upset when I'm drawing. In the way of like feeling like there's someone behind me in the basement kind of feeling. I want that feeling. And then invariably, like Impossible Landscapes came out of a couple paintings I made for the original book.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought those are cool and creepy.
Oh, Impossible Landscapes. So yes, that has it definitely has had traction. It gained traction with its inception, but obviously it has picked up a bit. Thanks to Quinn's Quest review, as it tends to do. And so a lot of people have discovered, or I hope a lot of people have discovered Delta Green, and likewise Impossible Landscapes. And nothing against Impossible Landscapes, but hopefully that's not their first scenario that they try to run.
I would argue it's actually the easiest, but
Well, I've got some, definitely got something to say about it. It's, I played through the game. Bud, rest in peace, was, he ran us, us and others through the game. And I'm actually in preparation to run it here starting in October. And, the people that I'm running it for, it's going to be a wild ride. But yeah, with any RPG, there's a certain amount of preparation involved. Now, Delta Green is notorious for having, several moving pieces, that you need to at least have some sort of attention to. You don't need to focus on the entirety, move through chapters, whatever, advice like that. But in regards to the general scope of it, and mind you, gotta say it, spoilers. It focuses on the Yellow King, and of course with the reality and time bending aspect that revolves around the Yellow King and the stories of Carcosa, it does lend itself to a more to lend itself to be a bit of a ease in regards to running the game, because if you need to change something, Yellow King, this is just part of what he's doing as he's playing with you and like your little marionettes in the scenario as you go through it. And so, but it's the scope of it might be a bit daunting for beginning people, but I would recommend to people, don't let the size of it scare you away, as you maneuver through the book.
Yeah. So, spoilers again. What many people have a really hard time wrapping their head around is that the book does not posit that the King in Yellow is an entity that exists within the panoply of Cthulhuoid entities of the unnatural. Right. Like there's Cthulhu and the King in Yellow, and you're all thoughts. No.
Yeah.
That's way too pedestrian. It posits that there is a play going on, and everything else is a side effect of that play. Your life, your childhood, the bureau in your living room, everything. And Cthulhu, the Unnatural, Delta Green, these are all just ephemeral wisps that sit on top of the play that is forever being performed. And in this game, you grow closer and closer to the actual play until you become bit players in the King Yellow. Now, having said that, the book is written to be experienced as a horror book on its own.
Yes. Yeah.
So you know, I for one am a great fan of reading RPG books just to read the RPG book without kind of running it or anything like that. And I wrote this very much in mind of I wanted a horror book that if you read it, you should be creeped out in several sections. And it works to do weird things, and there are many things hidden in the book that nobody has ever found. And I have a checklist.
Yeah, so. No, you had mentioned that before. I know you had mentioned it in other interviews. And as far as there's, if I'm not mistaken, there's a secret image or something within the cover that still no one has found. Yeah,
there's secret image. There's hundreds of word plays.
Yeah,
there's thousands of alterations to text that just get overlooked. And yeah, we've had a couple people note a couple of them, and I've kind of sent them a congratulations image, and they didn't like it, but they got one. But yeah, I built it very much to be a horror novel in and of itself.
Oh, I mean, it is probably one of, just aside from the game itself, one of the more entertaining reads. Just the engagement,
Thank you.
The finding the little aspects, especially there's the ones that stand out, as far as the warping reality as you're going through the book, the hints and the whispers and things that you see. But every once in a while, your eyes will kind of go over something. You're like, wait a minute. The cover, get the PDF, everyone. Pick up the PDF, zoom in on it and just slowly scroll everything, and you'll see things. I can't guarantee you they'll be, actual items, but you'll pause and go, and next thing you know, an hour goes by. But the game itself, I'm very, very much looking forward to it. Cool. Now, I don't want to put the spotlight on you, but you did mention something regarding it. We don't have to mention it here.
No, it's fine.
It's okay.
So when I wrote Impossible Landscapes, I kind of began it at the height of the pandemic, I guess, or like a little bit before that, and then the pandemic struck, and we were all locked in a house in a very Shining-esque moment for my family. And I would retreat downstairs at all hours and write. So Impossible Landscapes, I think, is like 368 pages or something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm guessing.
Yeah, I've got it here. Surprisingly, there's a hammer on top of it for some reason.
Safety's sake.
Let's see here. 265 from cover to cover. Yeah.
265, really?
Let's see. The last page number is 262, and then we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So it's
okay. Maybe I'm counting the extension then. So anyway, I wrote 180,000 words for that book, and then, but I wrote another 80,000 words, which I just recently discovered. So a lot of it was from the how to run a surreal game chapter. A lot of it's from there's an entire new section on how to use the King Yellow Tarot to mediate the game. And a bunch of other new things.
Sure.
Including spoilers. 2 times when I've run the game, in the game you're investigating the McAllister building in 1995, and the agents go in and it gets weird. 2 times the agents have gone back to the McAllister building to try and stop themselves from going to the McAllister building. So the older, scared 25-year-older agents have crept back through the night floors into the McAllister to try and spook their agents out of the building and have run into each other. And in a moment of wonderful prescience, the last time I ran it, I had one of them run into themselves in the dark in the basement before they even went back. Nice. Which worked out to be marvelous because I could kind of see where it was going. So I wrote up an entire section on how to do recursive games in there
excellent.
where you kind of keep going back to try and stop yourself later on. Anyway, I'm considering putting together just a large, Redux kind of giant edition that has everything in it. But that would require a whole hell of a lot of new art and a lot more work, and I got a lot of stuff to do. So, it'll appear. That text will likely appear on the Patreon or on the Ghost site for people to look at. Keeping in mind it's a total mess and has not been edited or looked at in any way. Anyway, if I ever get into operable form, we'll kickstart a special edition.
Sure,
that'll be very, very big.
Well, I mean, not only is that exciting, but the territories that it delves into, the primary aspect of helping those run the game, and try to maximize the experience for the players, is definitely a plus. And of course, I can guarantee, and I'm sure you're well aware of this. When I run the game for these players, it's going to be an entirely different experience than how I played it. And having new material, of course, is a wonderful thing to make people want to go back and venture back again. Because I will admit that once we were done, I'm sorry, that wasn't Impossible Landscapes. That was God's Teeth. I grabbed,
yeah, it's 360. It's 368 pages.
Gotcha. So. Well, whatever.
I was like, so I've gotten used to having weird moments with Impossible Landscapes occur again and again. So I'm not too surprised.
Well, you can blame Caleb for this one. And again, I don't want to have a hammer on the book, but well,
that makes sense for that one.
Shit, yes, it does. But we were just kind of like, oh, whew. Just kind of because we realize that through a majority of it, you're holding your breath. And a common phrase that occurred many, many, many times as far as we were, things were revealed and we were discovering things, and then we were doubling back and tripling back and finding stuff that we thought was this and that, was a common phrase that was said throughout the game. Was every once in a while something would just happen, and there would be like, fucking Detwiller. Just over and over and over again. Yeah, exactly.
That pleases me to no end. So, bring that flavor to your game when you run it.
Excellent.
I think it'll do okay.
Yeah.